public hearing for the wheel tax as well as the budget session for the county council. Tonight's prayer will be led by Commissioner Mark Bardsley, with the pledge led by Mr. Lemming. If you would stand.
Shall we bow in an attitude of prayer? Gracious God, our Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunities we have, not only for life and liberty, but the pursuit of happiness. And we pray that you will continue to bless our people, our state, and our nation. We pray, Lord, that you will direct the work of this council tonight, not only as they talk about taxes, but as they work on budgets for next year. Give wisdom and direction, and help us, Father, to follow after you. For it's in your precious name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, gentlemen. Good evening and welcome. Mr. McCourt, would you do the roll call?
Okay, Mr. Scott, and I had not heard from him.
Mr. Scott, I have not heard from him as well.
Okay. Marky Matt. Mr. Connor.
Here.
And Mr. Rohrbach, I believe, said he would not be here tonight.
Yes, I did have communication with Mr. Wilbrock, and he would not be available.
Mr. Hicks.
Present.
Mr. Poling.
Yes.
Mr. Lemming. Here. And Mr. Middlesworth.
Here.
You do have a quorum.
Thank you, sir. The first item for consideration this evening is the wheel tax ordinance. The Grant County Council has published a notice containing an ordinance that proposes a wheel tax and/or excise tax increase to be effective if adopted by September the 1st, 2022, to be effective for January 1st of 2023. Tonight's purpose, obviously, is to conduct a public hearing on the proposed changes and for the county council to decide if they are willing to adopt those changes. In front of you, at your desk this evening, you should have received a copy of the ordinance. I'll just go ahead and read it. Whereas section IC 6-3.5-1 ET authorize the county council to impose by ordinance a local annual excise surtax on each motor vehicle subject to an annual excise tax registered in the county, and whereas authorizes the county council to impose by ordinance a local option annual wheel tax on each of six classifications of motor vehicles not subject to excise tax registered in the county, and whereas required that the local option excise surtax and local option wheel tax be imposed concurrently, and whereas Grant County and the cities and towns in Grant County have experienced a severe shortfall in gasoline tax funds needed to support the safe, all-weather operation of the road and streets and bridge systems in Grant County. Now and therefore be it ordained by the Grant County Council of Grant County, Indiana, that beginning January 1st, 2023 until further amended by ordinance, all passenger cars, trailers of less than 11,000 pounds, trucks of less than 11,000 pounds, GVW, and motorcycles registered in Grant County that are now subject to an excise tax shall also be subject to an annual excise surtax as follows. And then this is the classification that breaks down the amounts. Passenger vehicles, A, the proposed annual excise tax of $25. B, motorcycles, annual excise tax of $15. D, collectible vehicles, an annual excise tax of $25. Trailers, DGVW, 11,000 or less, $25 annual excise tax. Trailers GVW 11,000 pounds or less, $25 annual excise tax. Beginning January 1st, 2023, and until further amended by ordinance, all of the following 8 classes of motor vehicles registered in Grant County shall be subject to an annual wheel tax as set out in the following schedule to be paid with the registration of said vehicle. And then it breaks down the classes again. Motor vehicle classification A, buses, annual wheel tax, $40. B, recreational vehicles, $30 wheel tax. C, semi-trailers, $40 annual wheel tax. Semi-tractors, $40 annual wheel tax. Light trailers, less than 12,000 pounds, $15 wheel tax. Heavy trailers, 12,000 pounds and greater, $40. F, light trucks, more than 11,000 pounds and less than 30,000 pounds, $40. And then heavy trucks, 30,000 pounds and greater, $40. As provided by the IC 6-3.5-5-4, the following motor vehicles are exempt from the annual wheel tax. Vehicles owned by the state, a state agency, or a political subdivision. Buses owned and operated by a religious or non-for-profit youth organization and used to haul persons to religious services or for the benefit of their members. Vehicles subject to an annual excise tax imposed under IC 6-3.5-5-4. Again, beginning January the 1st, 2023, all of the excise surtax and wheel tax collected on motor vehicles registered in Grant County shall be distributed as provided in IC 6-3.5-5-15 to the county, city, and town units of Grant County by the county auditor and shall be used only to construct, repair, or maintain roads, streets, and bridges under their jurisdiction, or as a contribution to obtain a grant from the local road and bridge matching grant fund under IC 8-23-30. So this ordinance is a little different from the one that was advertised. So this evening, if the members choose to approve this ordinance, we would have to amend the original published ordinance as well. At this time, I'll open up to Mr. Stevenson. Do you have any questions or comments?
No, Mr. McCourt did point out to me there's one error in this. If you look at paragraph 1 on the amended ordinance, it says trailers of less than 11,000 pounds. It should say trailers of 11,000 pounds or less. Otherwise, between that and below, we have a 1 pound discrepancy between this and below. You see where that's at? Second line on paragraph 1. Second line says trailers of less than 11,000 pounds. It should say trailers of 11,000 pounds or less.
I don't see what you're talking about, Phil. I go to paragraph 2.
You look at paragraph 1. Second line of paragraph 1.
Oh, okay, sorry. Go ahead.
So all it's really doing is just moving where the or less is. It should say, again, trailers of 11,000 pounds or less.
I will point out one other thing I just saw too, Phil. On the schedule of the annual wheel tax, under F, light trucks, to use the categories that the BMV form shows us, there's not one that uses 30,000 as the cutoff, 36,000. So my thought is, to make sure we hit the categories, that probably should say 11,000 pounds, more than 11,000 pounds, and less than 36,001 pounds.
Are you talking in item F or?
F.
So change item F to say more than 11,000 and less than 36.
Less than 36,001. And G would say greater than 36,000 pounds.
I will say that those come off the Miami one, that's where they have
Yeah,
the thing, so.
I don't know how,
So apparently it got accepted there, but I don't,
and maybe things have changed since that happened too, I don't know.
I don't either.
Yeah, I don't either. I just know that the schedule I was given doesn't show that category. But if we would fill in the numbers, I wouldn't have a place to fill it in based on the schedule, you know what I mean?
it would be, it needs to be a little more,
I just don't, I don't know how to react to that. I just-
I understand.
It's the same dollar amount.
Yeah, it's gonna be the same dollar, but how we fill the schedule and give it to the BMV, we need to hit their categories, I think. At least that's my thought. I mean, I'll do what you guys want, but that's what I'm thinking.
Gotta comply with their forms or it causes nothing but problems.
To me, you might risk them rejecting something. I don't know. That's,
At this time, I'll go ahead and allow the highway superintendent to discuss what kind of condition is our county infrastructure in, and give us an update, I guess.
Well, did everybody receive the letter that David sent out on the 11th?
yes.
Okay. That letter pretty much describes where we're at. As you're all aware, costs keep going up and our revenue's not going up in accordance. So this is one of the options that we have, or we'd like to look into. We do pursue every grant that's out there, community crossing or federal aid or whatever, trying to supplement what we're trying to do. So this is, I know every county that touches us has a wheel tax. We're the only county in the 9 that does not have a wheel tax.
Except Wabash.
They must have rescinded theirs, because they did have one at one
Oh,
time.
did they?
Mhm.
Yeah, I think it'd be appropriate for me to just go ahead and read the letter. That way we're all on the same page. I don't really like to hear myself reading too much, but that's the letter. Mr. White Penn, he's on vacation this evening. Says the Grant County Highway Department is very much in support of the wheel tax to better serve the community and care and maintenance of our roads and bridges throughout the county. The county maintains over 800 miles of road laneways, over 194 bridges, and over 1,000 small structures, which include culvert pipes over 36 inches up to 21 feet. The wheel tax is only to be used for road and bridge maintenance. Costs over the last 18 years have drastically increased. Paving in 2005 was $33 per ton. And in 2022, we are paying $74.25 per ton. In 2005, a mile could be paved for $40,000 to $45,000. In 2022, the cost for paving a mile is $85,000 to $95,000. Our chip and seal program has had the same increases. Number 11 stone for the chip seal program in 2005 was $6.96 per ton. Today, we are paying $14.45 per ton. The liquid asphalt that is used for the chip seal program cost 48 cents per gallon in 2005. Today's cost is $1.88 per gallon. The cost of chip sealing a mile in 2005 was less than $5,000. In 2022, cost for chip sealing a mile is $12,000. Attachment number 1 is a copy of our bridge report that we get every 2 years. This is from our consulting firm that we use and is mandated by the federal government for the next 10 years. They have estimated 1 billion in bridge replacement and almost 3 million in bridge rehabilitation. Attachment 2 is the recommendation from the above mentioned consulting firm to replace the Branson Street Bridge on page 3. The estimated cost for replacement of this is $2,997,000. The Pennsylvania Street Bridge was not a replacement, just a rehab, I call it rehab. And the cost for the projected was over 3.7 million. With the rising cost of everything, my estimation for the cost of the Branson Street Bridge replacement is over $6 million. I would like for you to implement the max rate for the most benefit of the county. The wheel tax will benefit the entire county, including the city of Marion, along with all the small towns. The county highway department, the city of Marion, and the small towns will all get a portion of the collected tax. This has to be implemented and sent to the state before September 1st for it to be active in January 2023. Distributions will be monthly, not a lump sum. And he goes on to say, I am sorry, I am unable to attend the meeting due to previously scheduled family vacation. Tony Smith may attend. As always, I'm available by phone if you have any further questions. David White, Superintendent. Are there any questions or comments from the members?
Tony, is there ever a reason why we would decide not to replace or redo a road or a bridge? Have we ever done that before?
No,
Is that something you think that we should consider?
no, not at all. I guess you'd have to look and see what road or bridge you're talking about to see whether or not anybody lives on it. Because then you're talking about emergency personnel trying to get from one side to the other.
This is Bridge by Pokey's, right?
Correct. Yeah, Branson Street. Yeah, we have a lot of log jam problems with that bridge and have David excavating down there at least three times a year to clean out the debris. And the proposed bridge we're looking at is to remove 2 of those piers to eliminate that problem.
I guess at this time, I'll go ahead and, Mr. McCord, if you'd walk us through the LOHUT allocation report.
You're saying how the dollars are distributed once
Yes.
it's received? Okay. We are a county with a population of more than $50,000, so the way the money that is received from this tax would be handled this way. The money we get in would be collected from the state every month, and then 60% of the money gets distributed to the various cities and towns and the county based on population, so a prorated share. And then 40% of the total is distributed on the number of miles of roads and streets that those entities have. So we have a spreadsheet that is available to us. I've got a copy here, I think, somewhere. Yeah, a spreadsheet that the state sent to me that shows how it's distributed. So you plug in the dollars you received and it spreads out how many dollars each city and town and the county gets based on those factors. So that's how it's done. Spreadsheet shows a column for population, and this would be based on the 2020 census. And a column that shows how many roads, miles of roads and streets, and then distributes it on those bases. And the county auditor's office would each month send each of those units their share of what's been collected.
So given the current ordinance, at the $25 and then the $15 and then the $40. As shown in the report. Some of the qualifications or classifications, this wouldn't be like 100%, because there's some discrepancies in some of the classifications. But if you go down to in the chart, on the chosen side, so go to chosen rates, and if you roll all the way down to the bottom, at the current rates that are proposed, am I correct in saying that the county would roughly receive $801,000?
And I'm looking for my copy of that, I don't have it right here. We passed out copies, I think, to everybody this evening, you should have a copy. And there should be a column that, on the far right, chosen rate, yeah, this is the one. Yeah, the approximate amount in total for the county is $1,673,000 for a year. And roughly half of that, $801,000 would be the county's share. $872,500 roughly would be split among the cities and towns. And that's using the numbers that we were given as the number of registrations. You can see the column on the left that shows number of registrations. That's what it's using to calculate that, to make it, close to what would be reality. Obviously, if the number of registrations change, the number of dollars that are received would change as well. And like I told Shane, I have not seen anything that verifies those numbers. That's just what we've been given. So,
Yeah, it's just an estimate.
so I'm assuming that's somewhat close. I don't know that for a fact. So that's my disclaimer on the numbers, I guess.
I mean, roughly the city of Marion would be $530,000.
City of Marion, yes, 530,000 roughly.
So obviously, before we talked at the last meeting, that this body, if they so choose to approve this ordinance, that it does not have to go to the tax council, that if it passes unanimously, then it would go into effect, and if it doesn't, then it'd have to have a second hearing. But say later, once it's passed, hypothetically, if you was to come back and to make any changes, at that point, it would have to go through the whole tax council. But given that this is the first time we're doing it, the county has the say. Just so we're all clear on that. Everybody's quiet tonight. Any other questions or comments from the members? Obviously, my opinion that as I sit on this council, I've been seeing the funding that we've been struggling with, and I see that all the costs throughout the county have increased when it comes to bridges and roads, and I don't see that cost coming down very quickly, if at all. And you got to wonder. I know I've talked to many farmers out in western Grant County that some of these bridges have weight limits. They're not loading their trucks as full, hauling out of the fields. I hear people complain about chip sealing, the chips, crack my windshield and different things. And why none of us like to increase taxes, this is one that is a user tax that you are paying to use the roads. And why we don't like it, the other option is that the infrastructure just continues to deteriorate, and at what point do you have to step up or make adjustments? And I really don't think in today's climate, when you look at passenger vehicles, I think $25 is really, when you're pricing steaks nowadays, you go to Walmart. If you're gonna buy a steak, you're gonna get 2 New York strips. It may be $20 for 2 steaks, but you're gonna drive your car all over the county to get those steaks. But I'm just wondering if the $25 is enough, and when the committee met, I was recommending the $35. That's what I'd recommend tonight, that it'd be $35 instead of the 25, if the body chooses to pass this. I don't see, again, I don't see things changing as far as costs going up. And whether we like it or not, this county has a lot of roads and bridges. Any other questions or comments from the members?
What we're gonna do is electric cars, because they don't pay your fuel tax like we do on gas. And an electric car is so much heavier than a normal car. They'll weigh twice. They take spatial tires, brakes, everything. And they're considerably heavier. They're probably as heavy as our pickups.
So I'll turn that over to Mr. Stevenson to answer that question.
We actually talked about that, of doing a $50 for the EVs. I think Mr. McCourt raised the question, which I think was a good one, that again, this crazy form for the BMV doesn't show any difference on the form for electric vehicles. I don't see anything in the statute which would prohibit that, but I think the concern was if the BMV turned it down because it didn't go with their stupid little form, you could sue them and you could win, but you wouldn't get that done until sometime next year or later. And so in the meantime, you wouldn't be collecting coming January 1st. If it's not done by the end of this month, it won't go into effect January 1st.
So that's something we could look at later.
Now, keep in mind, if we do it later, it has to go to the
Yeah,
entire
it'd be another
tax
year
council.
later for.
Well, it has to also be the whole tax council.
Yeah,
It's not just us.
I think it's something we need to look at after.
And obviously, I don't know the rationale, but it could be because the percentage of vehicles on the road that are electric versus not is not high enough, it hasn't gotten their attention to make a different category. I don't know if that's fact
I
or
know
not.
they're gonna be just as hard on the roads, if not harder, because acceleration and braking is what's really hard on the road. Look at the stop sign where semis stop and start and stuff like that there. And I know these cars are quite a bit heavier, and they do take spatial tires to carry the weight. They take different tires than a regular passenger car tire.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is, can you do it? I think you can. Does it run the risk of the BMV saying, wait a minute, you're not meeting our form, and
Yeah.
therefore refusing it, making us go file a suit in court to win, which I think we'd win, but you're not gonna win in time to get any money next year.
Well, the BMV will be 10 years behind.
So that's the problem. We talked about it today, and the issue is, if you wanna do a safe haven, the safe haven is the way this ordinance is set up. Could you do the other? You could. Would it be accepted? I don't know. You know, who knows what the BNB would do with it?
Why doesn't the electric car fall under a passenger vehicle?
It does now.
It does.
That's the point. They only have a category for passenger vehicles.
So you'd get the 25 that's there listed, I think now, but you wouldn't get, maybe if you wanted to go 50 for them, you wouldn't get
Right.
additional.
It doesn't say if it weighs, if it's not a truck or a trailer, because of the weight, what he's saying is you're not gonna get the, I got you.
And passenger cars aren't rated by weight
See,
under any place.
passenger cars, we're paying, what, 18 cents federal, and I don't know how much state on road use tax. There's about 36 cents or so that's federal and state highway tax. Some of it goes to your interstate, and then the others for state roads and local highway. Electric cars aren't paying that.
You're currently paying 78 cents per gallon for taxes.
Is it? Okay.
Because there's also the
I
7%
figured-
sales tax.
Oh, yeah, well, the sales tax though don't go for roads though.
No, it does not, but it's included in the price of it.
Yeah, price of fuel.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you got a $5 fuel, you got what, 35 cents just in
Mhm.
sales tax. So we're paying tax on tax? We are. We're paying sales tax on our highway tax.
I agree with you, Mr. Higgs. I think that that's something we need to look at in the future with electric vehicles. And after our conversations today with Mr. Stevenson, I thought taking the safer route was better to get this.
Yeah, we
ordinance.
need to get it started, that's for sure, and then we'll come back and visit this sometime next year. See if we can't get it done before September next year on the EVs and go from there. Because where they charge these things at home, they're not paying no road use tax. And they're just as hard on the road as our personal vehicle.
Are there any questions or comments, again, from the members?
Well, I will say that I have an unblemished record of never voting for a tax increase. The only time I've ever voted for a change in taxes, it was to decrease a tax. I hate the idea of raising any tax, imposing any new tax on people. With everything going up, it's just adding one more thing. However, having said that, I also know that one of the biggest complaints we get in government is that the damn roads are terrible. I mean, that's what we hear, the potholes. And if we have to pass a tax, at least this is a form of a user tax. That makes it a little bit easier to swallow. And frankly, our population is going down. We are the victim of an evolving pyramid scheme, which we can't help. We have fewer and fewer people in Grant County, and the load is being placed on fewer people to finance these things. I also think the county highway department does one of the best jobs in county government of making its dollars stretch and doing a good job and carrying out its task. So, and I also know that my district, and for example, Jonesboro, we need the money to repair roads. It's awful. And frankly, if your roads are junk, you're gonna pay for it because it tears your car up.
Mhm.
So, you know, $25 a year is a lot cheaper than a new suspension on a car.
Thank you, Mr. Trump. Any other questions or comments from the members? If there's no other questions or comments, I entertain a motion.
What about public comment?
You gotta get it, I think we have to get it on the floor first
Okay.
by a motion, and then we have to have public comment before we can vote.
I motion, put it to pass ordinance, how do you say?
What's the ordinance number? Number one.
Ordinance 1.
Number one, huh? Wow.
And just to clarify, that would also be, as we've discussed, the amendments in paragraph 1 of say 11,000 pound or less. And also the change to, on the motor vehicle classification, the light trucks would change from 11,000, more than 11, less than 36,000. The heavy trucks would be 36 or greater. Is that satisfactory?
Yes.
36,001, I'm gonna say, not that. Less than 36,001, because it
Less than
includes
36.
36, yeah, it
Yeah,
includes
right.
36.
And then obviously, I mean, is that at the same, the $25 rate, or, I mean, we can change any of the rates however you would like.
I go with Shane, 35.
So your other proposed amendment then would also be to change the passenger vehicle from 25 to 35?
Yes.
Thank you.
And then do we need a second, and
We
then
need a
we would
second
have
on
a
that.
public hearing?
Then have the public hearing.
I have a motion, is there a second?
I'll second it.
I have a second from Mr. Hicks. At this time, we will have the public hearing. Please come to the podium and state your name and your address, and there'll be a 2-minute time limit.
So the amendment would be 35 and then change.
Hello, so Ryan Howell. My address is 2909 South Brampton Street, Marion, Indiana. I hope I'm not out of bounds with saying this, but I'm a truck driver and I was long haul for quite a while. And the states I think have the best infrastructure are Florida, Texas, and Oklahoma seems like it's pretty nice to go through, and actually Wisconsin. Oklahoma, Texas, and Florida, the thing that they have in common, we got a lot of toll roads, especially Florida. It crisscrosses the roads, crisscrosses the whole state with toll roads. And Wisconsin, with all the brutal winters they have up there, they don't have any toll roads. But I heard it through the grapevine that they're talking about installing toll roads up there. But I don't know, I just want to put in 2 cents, maybe the states with the best infrastructure, I think, are Texas, Florida, Texas and Florida for sure. But whatever they're doing, they might be doing something right, whatever that does.
Thank you.
Ted Otis, 4389 North, E00 West. You talk about the prices are going up and you don't see them going down. Well, the prices are going up on us also. Who do we go to get tax money from? I know the bridges and the roads need fixed. Fix the bridges, leave the roads alone. I live out on 450 out past Machinga Mesa. It's got curves and a double yellow line. You can't go down that road at 30 miles an hour without being passed at least twice by somebody going 50. If the roads are a little bit rough, maybe they ought to slow down. And then they won't tear the roads up and they won't tear the cars up. I don't know why we don't run around now because we can't afford to buy a lot of gas. So you guys come along and all of a sudden, no, we need more money, we're gonna come get it from you. Who do we go get it from?
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Ed Hartman, live at 2640 East, 1050 South, Fairmount, Indiana. I know it's a difficult situation. I've struggled with whether I was for or against this, and one of the things that I keep coming back to is it just seems like bad timing. Prices have gone way high. People's wages have not really caught up yet. Families are more in a struggle situation than they used to be. Even just a couple of years ago, things were, I thought, quite a bit better. I'm kind of surprised that the gas tax is indexed to inflation. Has our money gone up appreciably or not? And why right now? Maybe a year from now, things might get better. Don't really know, but it just does seem like a bad time to raise taxes. When you drive around this county and you look at people's housing, it's not real great, but most people need a car to get to work. So, yeah, we're not the most prosperous county. I understand that. We're not the worst either. I understand that. Like living in Grant County, really appreciate the people. I'm just concerned that maybe this is not the best time to raise taxes, but you guys have to make this hard choice, and I support you either way. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, this is the public hearing portion. If you would, just come to the podium and state your name and address and this time, the public hearing piece is be closed, and we're ready for a roll call.
Okay. Mr. Scott is absent. Mr. Connor.
Yes.
Mr. Hicks.
Yes.
Mr. Poling.
Yes.
Mr. Lemon,
Yes.
and Mr. Middlesworth.
Yes.
Okay, it is unanimous, so just takes this one vote to approve that, correct?
Correct.
So my office needs to, I guess, get the corrected version of this ordinance.
Yeah, we'll clean it up in the morning, then we have to circulate it and get it signed.
Okay.
So if we
Good
follow
next week.
procedure then, we follow procedure, we're good?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay.
I'll make the change, I guess you're gonna meet next Wednesday again, so I can make sure Mr. McClure have it before Wednesday, and the members can sign.
Okay. Let's take a 5-minute recess.
Okay, let me say one other thing though too, might make sure, because one of the things we want to submit, in case there's any question, I think we're probably below the maximums, but just to make sure, understand that the highway department does have a asset management plan that's been approved by NDOT.
Correct.
And we'd like, get me a copy of that, because we need to submit that with our information to them, okay?
No problem.
So if you get that to me right away, it'd be great, okay?
Okay, let's take a 5-minute recess.
You have to go $35.
Recess has ended. We'll get back to the main event tonight, the budget process. This is the first evening of 4 scheduled budget sessions that will serve the purpose of conducting the public hearing regarding the 2023 budget. Tonight, obviously, Thursday, August the 18th, Wednesday, August the 24th, and Thursday, August the 25th, excuse me. First, I want to read the funds that are officially involved that the DLGF requires in this budget process. If you'll go to Form 3 in your binder books. And it's like a few pages.
It's under
before-
tab
Two,
1,
yeah.
there's a yellow divider.
And there's also a copy at your desk, a single page copy. I will read the fund name, the budget estimate, the maximum estimated funds, which is the levy as advertised, and lastly, the current tax levy. So, is everybody there? Form 3. You have general fund budget estimate, $27,583,033. Levy is advertised, $15,600,000. And then the current tax levy, $14,472,423. Reassessment fund, $544,644. Max, the levy is advertised, $650,000. Current tax levy, $515,707. Debt service estimate, $687,475. Levy is advertised, $900,000. Current tax levy, $613,626. Budget estimate, highway, $3,780,790. Levy is advertised, again, there's no levy because it's state money that the highway receives. And then the same goes for local road and street, a budget estimate $500,000. Cumulative bridge, budget estimate $1.2 million. Levy as advertised, $1,750,000. Current tax levy, $1,268,595. The health budget estimate, $813,636. Levy is advertised, $570,000. And then the current tax levy of $448,251. Cumulative capital development, as we call CCD, budget estimate, $547,000. Levy is advertised, $500,000. Current tax levy, $380,796. And then economic development income tax seated, budget estimate, 1.3 million. Jim, do you have any questions or comments you want to make regarding Film 3?
I might just mention, keep in mind, on the budget estimate, this is what we published as the budget limit. You'll either adopt that amount or less. You can't adopt more than that, okay? And for the levy, that's the amount that's just advertised, and I know those are high in every case. You'll adopt something that's gonna be less than that. We can't go above what's been advertised though. But we'll end up with something less than that when it's all said and done, okay? We'll advertise that and maybe approve that amount here, but when it gets all approved by the state's process, it will be less than that. And I have my own numbers that I expect it to be when it's all said and done, but we publish higher than that to make sure we're covered. Okay?
Another item I want to mention this evening is the Form 4B. It's also in your packet. It'll be updated and adjusted as we go throughout this budget process. Anything on the Form 4B, Jim, you'd like to discuss?
I'll just note this, and obviously as we go through the process of all the funds being adopted, we'll take care of this, but on some of the funds, you look at the Form 4B on line 18, there's an operating cash balance on line 18. Some of those funds show a negative balance right now. One of those is general, which means mathematically, we can't approve the budget that's been proposed at this point. It's gonna be less than that when it's all said and done. So obviously, we want it on line 18 when it's all said and done. We're gonna want a positive, and I'll say one of those amounts, and Shane may list some of our budget goals, but we'll wanna have a reasonable positive cash balance when all said and done. So if any fund that you see a negative balance on, when the process is done, we'll have a positive balance on that. General fund's the one that has a negative balance right now. CCD fund, I mentioned this to Justin just briefly in a conversation, it's got a negative balance. So obviously you can't approve the amount they're requesting at this point. We have to go through the process of cutting that back so that you have some kind of an operating balance left when it's all said and done. So just, that's something to keep in mind as we go through the process. We'll have an operating balance when it's all done. You have to have at least zero. You can't pass a budget that goes below zero.
It has to be a balanced budget.
It has to be balanced. And obviously we'll want something that's positive, so we have an operating balance for the fund.
I think the definition of reasonable was always 10%.
Or higher.
As Jim has mentioned in years past, I'll go ahead and read our budget goals. Our goals are to adopt a reasonable budget, one that meets the needs and minimizes the need for additional appropriations throughout the year. Have reasonable wages and benefits for our employees. Maintain a reasonable operating balance for each of the funds. And again, the definition of reasonable is at least 10% of the fund's budget.
Of course, that varies from person to person, what they think is reasonable. Might also mention too, Shane, on the 4B, the last line on those 4Bs has a property tax rate. Again, there's a rate on there, and that's gonna be a number that's higher than what will become reality when we're all said and done. Key being, we have to go high as far as the rate that's being presented and approved, knowing that it's gonna come down when the state finishes its process. Okay, and that'll when our assessed valuation numbers become final at the time they do budget review, we'll know more what that rate will be, obviously. But I want it to be high enough now so that we can raise the rate we need to when it's all said and done. Okay, so again, the principle, you're advertising high, knowing it's gonna come down when the process is complete. I want it, when the goal I have for you when this budget process is over, whatever budget you adopt, I want them to be able to approve that when they go through their process at the state, okay? So that means you need to have the levy you need to approve that, and the rate has to be good enough to generate the tax dollars to fund it as well. So when I look at the report, when the state gives it to me, the 1782 notice is what they give to us when they finish their review. What I do is I go through that 1782 notice, making sure that the budget we adopted, they've approved, and we're within the levy range that I want it to be in as well.
The other thing I'd like to mention as we start this budget process is that I tend to hold the line and intention. My intention or goal is a significant raise near the end. Hopefully we can accommodate, take care of the employees, and I'm just throwing a number out there, at least a 10% with that in mind, 10%. With that in mind, let's begin, I guess.
And Shane, let me mention something with that as well. And you mentioned that rate as a kind of a thought in your mind. As various departments put their budgets together, they have varying amounts of raises that they've requested, okay? So you're not gonna be able to go that high on some because of what they've approved, most likely. So there'll be some questions you'll get into as we go through the process, but, say in some cases, it might be a case where you need to do something in 2023 when the budget's approved to actually adopt something to reflect what you want to do if it's not what you want early in the process. So just letting you know there's some things that might enter into that.
Yeah, I remember that conversation.
Okay.
I guess let's begin. We'll go through each department as they come before us as in years past. We'll listen to all the requests from the department heads or the elected officials. We will we'll all be taking action tonight on the non-personnel items. We will address personnel requests at a later date. And then, instead of doing the roll call, we'll just do, I'll utilize the voice vote for time's sake. So the first budget before us this evening, he's waited an hour.
Yes, that is correct.
Sheriff?
But I'm willing to wait 10 days as long as our budget is passed. And good afternoon, everyone. Good to see everybody. I'm not on the Zoom meeting. Thought maybe I'll be here in person. However, I'd like to introduce some of my staff that is present. Chief Dale Garcia, my bookkeeper, Becky Dollar, her lovely daughter there. Got some representing from the union, Brad Moore and Sean Schill. And I'm here to discuss our $25.2 million budget. If you guys have any questions, I knew I could get everybody's attention in.
He just took the whole group, that's all.
I knew I could get everybody's attention in on that. But on the serious side, I am delighted to be here this evening because this will be my last budget. And I'm proud of our department because we have stayed under this administration, under our budget, during our 8 years that we've been in office. And also, as you guys know in the record, we have always given money back. And I'm glad to hear that. So hopefully the next administration will continue the same. So with that being said, if I heard you right, Mr. President, we are not going to discuss salaries increase.
You're free to talk about salaries if you'd like.
Okay.
And obviously, the negotiations with the union are ongoing.
That is correct.
But
That is
I
correct.
think you have some salary positions outside the union you can talk about.
Okay, well, in our budget, as you guys have in front of you, we did, with the union and with everyone else, came up with an 8% across the board for everyone. But I'm pretty sure we can get more than that. However, our budget still remained the same, other than we have a 3 increase, which was out of our control, beyond our control, I should say, which consists of meal money. And the reason for that, the population has increased. Matter of fact, I think today, population was 347. 347, that's if no one came in the back door at this present time. And of course, with that, with the meal, it's going to increase a little bit. And also with that, it's going to increase our medical. More inmates, more medical problems. And so we had a little slight increase there. Other than that, everything else has remained the same since we took office back in 2015. And I'm willing to entertain any question that you guys may have or the public may have.
It looks like category 1 is all the same.
Correct.
Category 2, category 2, and category 3, the increases in contractual services. I would assume that you zeroed out the meals, and since we're doing the tighter.
Yes, that contract's under contract. And as I was here last week, we no longer have any cooks in our budget, which will increase our budget.
Should there be a 0 in that column?
If it's blank, that you're.
Oh, is it
Blank,
fine?
right, it's blank. And as I stated, everything else remains the same.
Is there any questions or comments? If there are none, I entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I'd make a motion to accept categories 2, 3, and 4 as presented.
Second?
I have a motion from Mr. Lemon, a second from Mr. Connor to approve categories 2, 3, and 4 as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Okay, what is the next one, work crew? I didn't know if that's going to involve the salaries or, which as stated earlier, since we're negotiating with the council and the union.
Let me back up just 1 second too. Just,
Okay.
this is just something to note it's in the actually category 1, the personnel area, but, the pension piece.
I did see a letter in the packet.
Right, yeah, 798,940, which is what we've been doing recently, in recent years. That's the recommended contribution, so, and that's included in these category 1. Just want you to know that that's what's been included in there, so.
Yeah.
We'll take care of that later, but just so you know that that's part of that.
Yeah, that's, as you say, that is included.
Thank you.
You got detention center next, what you had? So in our book, detention center's next, but.
Okay, detention center. As you know, the detention center, I don't think there is a budget.
No, the supplies, category 2 is 0, and then category 3 contractual services at the 400,000. And
Yes. And I can explain that to you. As you guys know, we have that there for our juveniles that are placed outside the county. And you can look at the what we spent last year, and I wish I could predict the future, but I'm pretty sure it's not going to be over 400. But you know, as we all know, it doesn't oversee that amount. You guys, it always come back to the general fund.
Yeah, this is a little different than years past. Even though that we've been shipping the juveniles out of county, we
That is
still
correct.
maintain their budget within the general fund. It was under my recommendation that that be removed, as well as yours. We both agreed upon that, and I think that moving forward, I mean, obviously from a financial standpoint, that having the juveniles out of county is no feasible. But, so that's just a little backstory on the detention center fund. If there's no questions, I'd entertain a motion. Categories 2 and 3.
Mr. President, I make a motion for categories 2 and 3 to be accepted as presented.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Lemming, a second from Mr. Connor to approve within the detention center budget. Mr. Lemming, excuse me.
And I'm second.
Did you say it?
No.
I have a motion from Mr. Lemming, a second from Mr. Poling to approve categories 2 and 3 within the detention center budget. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We have the work crew next, salaries,
Okay,
and then I think that's all.
yes, as I stated with the work crew salary, the increase regarding to our 8% is in there, which I know you stated that we were talking about, or the council and the union were talking about that increase in salary. As you guys know about the life insurance, the group insurance and all that, which we all know what that consists of, the benefit package. So that's where we are with the 3 inmate work crew. Now, remember, one of those work crew, Department of Correction, do send money, correct? sponsor one of those salaries.
That's that category
Yeah,
refunding or whatever. it is.
correct, right.
That's a transfer usually gets made in September, maybe?
We also bill the city of Marion.
And that's correct for the other two, so,
But usually there is a transfer we make in
Yes.
Right.
in the
September.
correct. So, with that being said, hey, you guys, I think, our budget is one of the best budget in the county. And I wish good luck to everyone else.
Just one of the best,
And
right?
one of the
The
best,
best.
the best. Thank you, sir, for that.
On behalf of the council, we appreciate your cooperation with the council over the years, Reggie.
And thank you guys, and it's been a pleasure working with you, and, if I see you again, be on another planet. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next budget before us this evening is the clerk. I swear you Connor. Did I say Connor?
I just threw my voice.
I think it's getting hot here this week.
No.
You telling the turn air conditioner on?
It feels pretty good, I think, right? You know? We got the heater on over there.
I don't know.
Good evening. Again, as we've done in years past, we'll go to talk about all the requests within your budget, but we will not act on anything related to personnel.
Okay. And like our dear sheriff, I'd like to start off with that though.
That's fine. Go ahead.
Okay. Just a couple of comments. I did ask for a raise, but to be honest with you, I'm not happy with the raise I asked for. I think my staff deserves quite a bit more. Just a couple things. Since I have been in the clerk's office, I've had one person that has left for the hardest, but yet the most wonderful occupation, and that was to stay home with their new baby girl. I've had two that have retired, something that a few years down the road I'm looking forward to myself. I've had two that have gone outside the county for more money, and 5 that have gone inside the county for more money. Up to the courts mainly. Just a thought, nothing in the courts or 4D or juvenile happens without going through the clerk's office. The clerk is such an important part of that process, yet they are the least appreciated in as far as pay. And so I have an amazing staff, which one by one I'm seeing them leave me because ultimately the deal is they're trying to provide for their families, and so that's all I'll say about that. So thank you for indulging me.
We understand how it's difficult to get your staff poached on occasion.
Where would you like to start?
Say the clerk, that's Gerald Sons first.
Yeah, general fund clerks. Looks like you increased supplies 1,000 in categories 2, and categories 3, increase travel and conference 500.
Yeah, and I think from previous conversation this evening, that kind of makes sense. Matter of fact, right now, we are in dire straits needing envelopes and paper, especially for the election. Can't get it. Can't get it. So it's real fun times.
And category 4, you're asking for additional 4,000 in equipment. Is there something you have in mind?
That we've just, as we have needed different things, I've had to come and ask. So we thought, I think there might be like scanners and things that we're needing, but nothing particular I can think of right off my hat, but that just, if we need it, it will be there. If we don't, we won't touch it.
Is there any questions or comments regarding categories 2, 3, and 4? No questions, I entertain a motion.
I guess, Mr. President, I'll make a motion to accept categories 2, 3. I'm struggling with 4, just not knowing why we increased it that much, I guess.
Brenda, do you have a thought on what we, the scanners? Yeah, that's what I was thinking, but yeah.
What are they for? I'm sorry.
They're for scanning, okay, here's, down the road. We've got a lot of things which you don't have time for tonight, I don't think, that we're playing with. One of my big issues that I have talked about since I've become clerk is that record center. It's a mess. My precious Brenda, 4 or 5 times a day, she's running 2 blocks down, no matter what the weather is. I'm wanting to get everything I can that can be destroyed scanned into the system so that we're not making that 2-block hike several times a day. But that takes scanners. And then I'm wanting to reconfigure how things, the people in my office, to get the things that do have to be permanent and that we can't destroy, to get them placed up in my office somewhere. So the scanners are a big thing as we have a little bit of downtime, getting everyone busy scanning things in, but our scanners are needing replaced. So that's a big chunk of it.
So desk scanners?
Pardon, scanners?
Desk scanners?
Yes, yes.
So my motion would be to accept as presented.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Levy and a second from Mr. Connor to accept within the clerk's general fund categories 2, 3, and 4 as presented. Any questions or comments from the members? Public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. The next item is the voters. It's salaries.
Yeah,
Is there
yes.
anything you'd like to discuss there?
No, just again that my Sharon's been there since what, 1999, Brenda? She's amazing, and she's very much deserving of every dime we can get for her. But yeah.
The next is the election budget. Is there any comments on the election budget?
No, other than again, Nancy has done a great job for us. She's in there. The election board, we didn't touch that. It's been that same. I think that is good. We haven't raised that at all. I will say that contractual services, that one is, over 19,000. That is for like the ballot prep. This is twice a year, the primary and general, the ballot prep, the public test, the support Microvote gives us on election day for the poll worker training, and that pretty much eats up those monies. And then down there with, on your report or form, it says repair of equipment. That is I think that's really kind of phrased inappropriately, that it's more the, like the annual maintenance fees for our microvote, which is the 12,000, and the Knowing, which is 6,600, and then there's just a little bit left over there. Like this year, we had a piece of equipment that microvote that wasn't covered under that maintenance agreement and needed to be repaired. So those types of things come out of that as well. And the Knowing, though, that has to do with the electronic poll pads for election day.
Any questions?
I have one just for maybe Angie on the schedule on the yellow sheet with the salaries and wages on there. The part-time rates, those are the current ones for 2022, is that correct?
There were no changes.
Okay, those aren't changed, okay. I just want to make sure that was 22. Okay.
Why does precinct board,
That is our election poll workers and things such there. And we have 11 vote centers, so it helps man those. Also, the central count, the people, so it all has to do with counting those ballots accurately, taking care of the voters.
This budget does seem to fluctuate some, given, whether it's an election year or not.
Yes, it does. Like last year, we didn't have an election, so we saved all sorts of money then.
Any other questions or comments?
I will say one thing, that with the help at the polls, since vote centers were a brand new thing for us, and that first election we had, the general election, was that presidential, and then the following, this primary, we were just unsure what things were going to look like. So we did have extra judges in some of the key places where we thought the population was high enough that they would be busier than the others. We have found that we're going to be able to cut back on those judges a little bit. So we're going to be able to save a little money there as well. The judge is the one who takes the voter to the machine, so it kind of.
Any other questions or comments? If there are none, I entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I'd make a motion to accept categories as presented, 2, 3, 6, that's it.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Lemming, a second from Mr. Connor, to approve within the election budget categories 2 and 3 as presented. Public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We're moving on to the clerk's perpetuation fund.
Increases there? There's some increases there?
Yeah, a few. Like with my part-time there, we did increase that a little bit. And I'm gonna be honest here again, this is where the clerk's office, and this started before me, that part-time individual mainly is working on shredding, and they're not shredding just for the clerk's office, but they shred for the whole courthouse. So I think that those other departments need to pitch in on that, but we haven't got there yet. But yeah, he keeps very, very busy.
I know, speaking of shredding, I know there was a committee, I think, the commissioners that
Yes.
was gonna discuss on destruction of some records.
Right, that actually, Judge Spitzer is head of that committee, and we did have that meeting, so.
I just wanna, Mr. Lemmy and I had a chance to tour Carry Services,
Oh,
and I didn't know if you realized, but you'd have to talk to Mr. Alden.
yeah.
But they do offer shredding, and it's somewhat certified.
Mm-hmm.
I
They
didn't
pick
know-
up stuff from the hospital and they do a lot of things, they have their own truck.
I'll touch base with him. Thank you very
Why you brought
much.
that up, I
Yeah.
Any questions regarding the clerk's perpetuation fund?
If I was looking at supplies and equipment, I guess that's where I was thinking the increases were. What,
Well, there again, with supplies, you know, like I've said, Brenda, what was it, like our one paper was like 6 something and it was now 14 something? I mean, it's incredible, the way nonsensical things have increased. I mean, you know, that you have to have them, but it's a piece of paper. They're charging more than twice what they did the last time we bought it, so, and envelopes, and, yeah, so that's everything has gone up.
Mr. McCord, could you reference how the money's coming into the clerk's perpetuation fund?
But payment to more media, this is a fee-driven fund, it's not the tax dollars involved, it's fees that are generated through the work the clerk's office
Yeah, and
does.
like through copies, that's a big part of that income is through, people paying for copies for things. There again, they're copying on a piece of paper.
We're supposed to be going paper.
I know, I know.
Not to us old people get out, then you can use it.
Yeah, thank you, that's where I am.
I like paper.
I like having that in my hand.
I'm almost out, then you.
If there's no other questions or comments, I'd entertain a motion.
I guess I'm a little concerned because it's got one's up 60% and one's up 100%. It's quite a bit of budget increase. You're saying most of that gets passed on when we're getting some money back for this? I mean, that's what we're saying, perpetuation.
Well, the money you're spending here is money that's been driven by fees. She's received the money through fees that have been paid by her customers
Right.
that generate the dollars that go into this.
It's a fee-driven fund, we have a current balance.
214,000.
Okay, so that, this budget support.
Several years' worth.
Yeah.
With that being said, I would make a motion to accept the categories, I think it's 2 and 4.
I have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Lemming, a second from Mr. Hicks to approve within the clerk's perpetuation fund, categories 2 and 4 as presented. Any other questions or comments? Public input? Roll call, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Mike just mentioned, just everybody just remember, we read at the beginning of the session, the funds that are advertised, and those are property tax funds, or state funds in the highway and local road street. A lot of funds we're gonna talk about through this process are fee-driven. They're monies that people, as customers, so to speak, pay it. So it's not a tax thing, but it's fees they've generated to fund that budget. So this would be one of those.
The next item before us is the clerk's 4D incentive fund.
Now with this one, they didn't change on those first 2 items, didn't change. The second, in that fund, transfer of funds, that 20,000 was an amount that was, can only be, it's 4D money. It can only be spent on things pertaining to 4D and child support and such. This is money that was transferred from our 4D fund into Darcy's 4D fund, but it's money that she doesn't need anymore. And so that transfer, correct?
That is
Okay.
correct,
Yeah.
yes.
So that will not be, that money, even though we can't do anything with it, it will not be moving to Darcy's 4D program.
So you want to make that $20,000 zero, is what you want to make?
Correct.
Okay. Angie and I talked about that some today, that was the thought, but, yeah.
So we're just gonna approve category 5 as 0.
I think that's the case at this point, yeah.
there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Lemming, a second from Mr. Connor to approve within the clerk's 4D incentive fund, category 5, zero out. Public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Yes, the desk scanners we were talking about,
Yes,
is Marcus involved in that?
always,
Okay.
always.
I see it online, I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, yeah, when we, whenever we have electronic stuff going on, we always, go back to our IT department, so
Thank
yes,
you.
always.
Appreciate that.
I think that's all we have this evening.
Okay, I would just
appreciate
like to also say, I know the task before you is daunting, and I appreciate that very much. And even though I get a little bit out of shape sometime about a few things, I'm just trying to be an advocate for my people, my staff, my department, as everyone is. And I know you're gonna weigh it all out and do what you feel you're able to do, and I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
The next department before us this evening is the health department. Again, we'll listen to all the department's requests, but we will not take any action on the personnel tonight, but go ahead and feel free to discuss that if you'd like.
Thank you. I wanna echo her thank you for all. I don't always like what you guys do or the way you do it or anything else, but I do appreciate the gravity and importance of what you do. And it takes a lot of work and a lot of commitment to the community to do this, and I appreciate that. Our first one from the health department is for the general department funds. It differs from the one that we did last year. In the first one with salaries, two things happened. Environmental health specialist was taken from the grant funds that we were using and put back into the general fund where it had been years before. And we also are asking for a full-time nurse. That our nursing department had been cut down. We've been using part-time help and other things, and with COVID, and now with making up for things that were lost with COVID, we're asking for a full-time nurse. And we'd like to go a little bit out of order with that, in that our environmental health specialist was $30,000 was taken back into the county for that, and we would be willing to, instead of a part-time nurse, to try to move that to a full-time nurse, and we would add $30,000 towards that salary for that nurse from the money that we got back by the county taking on the environmental health specialist. And we will get by. If we only had a part-time nurse, we could begin to do more of our duties and responsibilities that I think the health department would have if we could have a full-time nurse for that position.
To clarify just a little if I could, 1206 is the grant that used to pay that environmental health specialist that the council took back onto the county. We would be willing to devote that $30,000 towards the cost of the full-time nurse, is what Dr. Moore is saying.
And while I appreciate you guys, I appreciate her even more.
Are you clear on what she's saying there? I mean, I'm not really totally sure if you guys are clear on. In 1206, there's an environmental specialist that's been in there before. It's no longer there. Instead, that's now
On the county.
in the health fund.
Mm-hmm.
In what position? And we're talking this one right here.
Yes.
Okay, so you've moved that one, the council's agreed to move that one to this health
Yeah,
fund.
they did that last month.
And, okay, so you'd say you're willing to do what then?
That's a $30,000 a year grant that comes in. And
Into this 1206?
Into 1206, yes. We would, if council doesn't give us a full-time nurse, we're gonna ask to use that for a part-time nurse. Full-time nurse would be much better for the health department, so we would be happy to dedicate that $30,000 grant towards the cost of the full-time nurse.
And how much is the full-time nurse make?
Well, 44,100, I think, is what we asked for her.
There's 42,220, is that what you're talking about?
42,220, sorry, yes, sorry.
So we reduced the position from 1206, brought it into the general health department fund,
Mhm.
which was the environmental
Health specialist,
at
correct.
36.8, which we've done that last month.
Mhm.
And then now that grant is still available,
Yes.
30,000. And you're saying if we added another nurse at the 42,220, you would supplement it from
With that 30,000, yes,
So it means you'd be taking away this part-time, this 27,900.
correct,
So
correct.
that fund would pay 30,000 of a full-time nurse,
Mhm.
or 27,900 of a part-time you'd like to have.
Correct.
And still keep that one up here. So you're either gonna have a full-time and a part-time, or you're gonna have just a full-time.
No, well, well, if you give us a full-time and still let us have the part-time, we would
Well,
gladly take
you
that.
got it
We will
both,
use
well,
it.
you got it both places. You've got a full-time here in 1159,
Right.
and you've got this part-time now in
Because
1206.
I had to do something with that grant, or I can't even apply for it. And I was afraid that you would say no about the full-time, so I put in for the part-time.
Okay, so I guess you're asking one or the other at this point,
Yes.
or both if they'll give it to you.
Mhm.
Okay.
And I know you're not making personnel decisions, but the grant applications have to be in by the end of October, so I would need to know by then if I'm doing a full-time or a part-time.
Well, the budget will be
Sorry.
adopted before October's over.
Even the personnel part?
Yeah, it has to,
Okay.
budget has to be done by then. October, is it 20th we're gonna adopt? What's the meeting on October
19.
19th? So
that
we'll
works.
be able to adopt hopefully on the 19th.
And we'll have a special budget prior.
Well, we do, that's not to adopt the budget, that's just to discuss and tie up loose ends, so to speak. Reason I wanted to make sure I'm clear on that is we want to make sure we have items to be addressed listed, and that'd be one of those items to address.
In our perfect world, we would get both. If we can't have our perfect world, then second best would be the full-time nurse.
So just throw this in there. 42.2 is about $21 an hour. Is that about what you're looking at?
Mhm.
Do you think you could get a full-time nurse for?
I do, the one that's working part-time now.
I just want to make sure I'm clear what you're asking.
So we're all clear on
Why am I
that.
clear now?
I understand it now.
Okay.
Thank you.
You wanna go ahead and talk about categories 2 and 3?
The rest of the budget.
Go back to 1159.
1159.
Look like there are no changes there, look like there are no changes.
Except $1,000.
$7,000.
Yeah, we took off $1,000, otherwise it's the same.
So, okay, then the total shows the same, so maybe the total's not right?
And it looks like took $1,000 off for cholesterol screening. Took it off.
It should be 51,000.
I don't know why it didn't come out right.
Yeah, that column should be 52 on the 2022 budget, if that's
It's not
correct.
my fault, it's Excel.
It's Excel, I know.
The formula must be wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it went from 52 to 51, so it looks like.
Should it be 50?
Unless there's a number wrong in there. So, but anyway, those add up to 52,000. And the new ones in 23's request, it adds up to 51,000.
Yeah, yeah.
We're okay to approve it.
And we're okay to approve it as requested.
So that'd be my motion, supplies, category 2, and service and charges, category 3, to approve as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Lundin, and a second from Mr. Foley to approve within the health department, categories 2 and 3 as presented.
It's 3,000 and 51,000, right? Make sure we're clear on the number. Yeah, 3,000 and 51,000. Okay.
That's a little scary, you know,
What's that?
that didn't add them up right.
Well, I tell you, there's gotta be something wrong with the formula on that column. It's gotta be.
I fixed it.
You fixed it. It is 52?
Yeah, it's 52,000.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you have a number or formula wrong, it's gonna give you the wrong.
Didn't you have that paper?
What's that?
Didn't you have that paper?
Is there any public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. The motion carries. 1168 Local Health Maintenance Fund.
And this is the same as last year, except for the part-time specialist that we have moving from $1,000 to $2,000. And this is the part-time person that we use in the foods department for fairs and festivals. The numbers have increased so much that we're doing more. If that's temporary, if it's going to be permanent, we don't know. If we don't end up using that person, then that money won't be spent. But one of the examples of where it was used is when we had the storms a couple of weeks ago and power shut down. And we needed to go through the restaurants and making sure that they were handling the foods properly. And so our full-time person needed to call in the part-time to begin to help with that. And so because of the increase in fairs and festivals and other things, we're asking to increase that from $1,000 to $2,000. Otherwise, things remain the same.
And the money for this fund comes from?
From the tobacco grant.
Okay. Let's make sure we're clear on that. So.
Any questions or comments? There are none, I entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I make a motion to approve categories 2 and 3 as presented.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Fleming, a second from Mr. Poling to approve within the Local Health Maintenance Fund, categories 2 and 3 as presented. Any public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We're to 1206 Tobacco Trust.
And Tara may help me with this, but this is a grant that we have.
Yeah, this is the one that paid the environmental health specialist, so, pardon?
You'd be moving the person there, right? That's what we just went through.
Yes, yes. So we're hoping to just be contributing to a full-time nurse with them.
And we're to vaccines.
This one.
So we have an in and out fund that the monies that we spend are reimbursed for immunizations. The level has been placed at amount. If we use it, then it goes out. If we don't use it, it stays in that fund, and we're leaving that the same at $120,000 in our request.
What kind of fund balance is in that fund now?
I think it has like 2,000.
$2,800.
So it's not, it's a small balance, okay, but the revenue should come in to support that if it's
It's
needed.
an in and out. It purchases vaccine,
Okay.
we bill insurance for the vaccine, when they reimburse it.
So you don't
goes back
expect a
in.
large balance to be there? It's
Never,
okay.
no, it
So you
should
got to
just,
spend it and then they give it back.
right, it should just continue to flow and cover it.
All right.
If there's no other questions, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I make a motion under vaccines 4902 to accept the supplies as presented.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Fleming, a second from Mr. Connor to approve category 2 under vaccines. Any public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Might just comment, in the past, we've also done the bioterrorism fund grant at this time, but that's already been approved, so nothing to take care of at this point on that one, so. Okay. You'd have to come back next July or next June to renew that.
Yay.
I believe that's all we have.
Just a note.
It was easy on you.
Yeah, easy breezy, thank you. And ladies.
Thank you. Next item before us this evening is the coroner. Coroner? Coroner?
Well, I was looking, I'm like,
Coroner? We Okay, I say recorder.
It may have just sounded like recorder.
Sounded
like recorder.
Did you say Connor?
Connor, corner.
Okay, what I understand is there has been an increase in 3 items. Under 2101, or 2100 actually, increase from 2,500 to 5,000. And that's for the medical and photo supplies. Reason for that is the caseloads have increased. They increased last year, they've increased this year, so it's cost us a lot more for the different cases. Same with the other services, reference the autopsy lab and transports. I believe I was on the understanding so far this year we came 4 times for a transfer, so rather than us coming so many times a year, that's the reason for that increase there.
Did that increase carry you through, if you had that much?
I can't say that, because I don't know how many cases we're gonna have per year.
I would say it's always been a rolling target, but I
Absolutely.
think we've underestimated for several years
Right.
now.
And if you look at what's been expended through May 31, you're looking at 170,000 for the year when it's all said and done, so.
Yeah.
144 wouldn't quite get it if it's that same rate, but obviously you never know for sure.
Absolutely.
144 is a lot better guess
It
than
is.
in the past 40,000.
Yes.
I mean, that's, or 48,000, I guess, last year.
And then I see the equipment, is there something you're wanting to purchase there?
Okay, let me see here.
Went from 1,000 to 4,000?
The only thing I can possibly think that would be the new van that we have. So we have to, there has to be some more equipment installed on that, so I want to believe that's probably what it would be for.
Yeah, I guess maybe the members maybe won't recall, but the some COVID money purchased the new van.
That is correct.
And then also a cooler as well.
Right.
So,
Which also, and you saying the cooler, that could be cameras for the cooler also, because we have to have that security on that. There's been no cameras yet, so there could be the cameras for the cooler as well. And then I know you guys were discussing the salary situation. Just want to bring up the only part-time clerical was increased, and it was just basically by hours. What was the hours you said?
5.
Increased by 5.
went from 10 hours per pay to 15 hours.
Correct. All right.
Is there any questions or comments regarding the coroner's fund?
Let me ask this, Angie, on the dollars per case for deputy coroner, is that 110 what we're paying now in 22?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, because I noticed in last year's packet it was 105, that might have been, we increased from 105 to 110 in this year, okay, all right. Thank you.
But we are, the part-time rate did stay the same, correct? We just increased the hours.
Well, I'm guessing that part-time rate went up as well, we changed rates, so
Yeah.
probably, this is probably the 22 rate on there is what I'm saying, 20,022 rate. Because you did increase part-time rates 5% last year as well, and that set a floor, it has to be at least 1150, so you did do that.
If there's no other questions or comments, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I make a motion to accept coroner's categories 2, 3, and 4 as presented with the increases, and hope you get back.
Second. I have a motion from Mr. Fleming, and a second from Mr. Poling to approve within the coroner's fund categories 2, 3, and 4 as presented. Is there any public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Same sign, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next department before us this evening is the recorder.
Did you say recorder? Okay, I think on my salaries, I just did 2,000. But my first deputy, still one of the lower paid, even though she got an extra, and I've had one just leave for more money. So I just hired a new one, so if, whatever you decide to give, if that first deputy could get a little more, it'd be appreciated. Because they always ask me, why does every other office, like job posting, they say, why does it pay more than us? I don't know, but I think that was the only change there.
Is there any questions or comments regarding the personnel? What is the part-time rate? What is it there?
It's 1204
1204.
this year, so I think I just asked for 1250 for that one.
Nothing indicates what you asked for on here, so.
It's on my other sheet I gave Ange.
Yeah, part-time rate currently is 1204.
Yeah, it's currently 1204 and I requested 1250.
Okay. That's why I didn't have a question, what is the current rate, and I didn't know from there. Okay.
It's in the perpetual salaries,
Yeah,
1204.
it's indicated on that.
Yeah.
Okay, if there's no questions regarding salaries, we'll move to categories 3.
It's a big one.
Big spender.
No complaint.
Just because it's budgeted doesn't mean you spend it.
That's right.
That's
That's
right.
my principle.
So do you have any questions on the, is this where we're going through my perpetuation budget?
Yeah, you've got $16,000.
You gotta finish up this one first.
Yeah, is there a motion regarding?
You haven't done.
Well, I thought that was salaries.
Well, there's one
Wait,
category.
$50.
Oh, my postage?
Yeah.
$50.
I make a motion that we accept for
Gotta be done.
category 3 under recorders.
Small, but has to be done.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Lemming, a second from Mr. Poling, under the Recorder's Fund. Categories 3 as presented. Any public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now we're ready for the perpetuation fund.
I think,
Before you get, how does the monies come into this fund?
that's fee generated.
Fee generated.
Energy storage, you up to 16,000.
And we have a current balance?
I think it's 400 some.
I think it's 506.
There we go.
500, how much?
6.
6.
So to answer your question, Chuck, the conversion and storage is my off-site. So in case this building burned down, I just need Wi-Fi and we could keep working. It was in the service agreement, but since I put a big amount in there for my back indexing projects we're doing, digitizing, I moved it because it's more of a storage place. I just kind of separated it. And the more that we digitize and they're storing for us, the more it is. And I pay that quarterly.
And then where did you say you moved it from?
It was like in the service agreements,
Okay.
so I just moved it up to separate it from my project money.
What, you know, what percent it increased to? I mean, it's based on how much data?
Yeah, so right now, as of this point, it would be the same. But with this, they're getting ready to start the 70s digitizing, so they're gonna be storing more, so it might go up next year, is what he told me, so. I just kinda guesstimated.
So every 3 months, we're spending 16,000 on this
No, it'd be for the whole year,
for the whole year.
yeah. And I don't have the actual in front of me. What it was, I think it was about 12, maybe.
And then you increase some additional service agreements?
Yeah, to 140.
Yes.
That's for the back indexing project, because they're gonna start the 70s.
Okay.
And also, when they put my index books in, they missed a batch of the meets and bounds books. So that's included in there too, for them to do that.
Okay.
So I thought if I did it all at once, I wouldn't have to come back and move any more money.
And they missed it, and you didn't make them.
I didn't even know they missed it. And on my software, it went up to 27.5 instead of the 25,000. And I just found that out 2 weeks ago because I'm renewed my contract. My contract ends in September. And it's a locked fee now of 27.5 for 4 years. This first one I signed for 25,000 was for 3 years. So I just had to renew that contract. So instead of 25,000, it's 27.5.
Could we gonna change that to higher
Yeah, you
in this fund?
can, that's fine. Makes the category total go to 189.1. This is not an advertised fund.
That's what I was thinking. You said 27.5, right?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions or comments regarding the Recorder's Perpetuation Fund? If there are none, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I make a motion to accept in accounts 1189 recorder perpetuation supplies, category 2, other service and charges, categories 3 with the changes noted, and capital outlays and equipment.
Is there a second? I have a motion from Mr. Lemming and a second from Mr. Hicks to approve within the Recorder's Perpetuation Fund, categories 2 and 3. 3 is amended, line item software to 27.5, bringing the total of that category to 189,100, and also including categories 4. Public input. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
So I ask you, you notice the part-time, you actually removed all but 1,000 out of the part-time there, is that?
That was Debbie, who was gonna work 1 day a week, and then she decided to retire, but she was gonna come and cover vacations for us. Well, then her husband's got diagnosed with cancer, so I don't even know if she's gonna do that, so that's why it's so
So you didn't
low.
want to, you wanted it down low, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Angie, I noticed we have still 2,000 on the Social Security Medicare line, so that'll probably obviously be reduced. So. I just want to make sure we're right there. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate what you guys do.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Right on time, 8 o'clock, prosecutor.
We don't need a break, do it.
We're right on time.
Or you want 5 minutes?
No, we'll be behind time.
We'll have a 5-minute recess.
Oh, my goodness.
Recess is ended. The next department before us this evening is the prosecutor's office. Good evening.
Hi Shane, how are you?
Good.
Hey, good evening, guys. So I know our budget's requesting a little more than last year. I think it's roughly 23.5. We put in the, I think basically a $2,000 raise for staff, but then the deputy prosecutor request is more significant than that. And I can tell you, the reasoning for that is, and I know a lot of times, we say, well, if we give one department a raise, we gotta give them all a raise, but I guess I would ask the council to look at it this way, is that with respect to the prosecutors, the deputies, most of them have, well, all of them have gone to law school, and probably at this point, I know what it was when I went there, not quite 20 years ago, but close to it, that they're coming out of law school with somewhere between $90,000 and $100,000 in debt to go to law school. So I've asked to have those salaries bumped up. We've had 2 open spots for a while now, but it's not been lucrative enough for anybody to, we've had them apply, but then once they find out what the salary is, they're not interested in it. There's surrounding counties, I know Madison for one, you can come out of law school and do level 6 felonies, which is our lowest level of felony in Indiana, and make $65,000. And I think one of our spots is 52.8 or 54.8. So I've asked to bump the minimum up to 60 on some of those prosecutor jobs, and then bump up some other ones based on their experience, because I don't think we're ever going to fill those spots if we don't bump them up. And I know that we had a position for an assistant to the victim advocate, which I don't think we need anymore, because of our current victim advocate is doing a good job and seems to have it all handled. So I took that spot, split that up amongst the deputy prosecutors, and added some more. But I just don't think we'll ever fill those spots if we don't have them at least at a minimum at 60. And I know we have some at 65, but that's going to be based on experience, if we can get somebody in. And if we keep going, you know, the way they're going, we don't have enough people in our office to handle all the cases, to process all the cases. And I think you're going to lose more people if that's the case. So that's why I think it's a 23.5 bump in our budget, but I think it's warranted based on our deputies' education and experience, and that's what we'll be asking for.
Yeah, 23.5, Evan, you're talking, that's the general fund part of the prosecutor's budget, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
The salary piece?
Salaries.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
all right, I got you.
Yep.
Okay.
Can I want to say something in support
Go ahead.
of you. And please take this in the spirit it's intended. You have a young, relatively inexperienced prosecutor coming in. You have a young staff. If we don't start looking at some competitive salaries for the Grant County Prosecutor's Office, all hell could break loose. Try to picture a county where you start losing trials because you can't maintain quality, experienced people. Again, I don't like spending, I hate spending, but I can speak to you from the private sector. It's getting extremely difficult to get people to come to Grant County, Indiana, number one, and number two, pay the kind of salaries that we all can pay here. And if we get in a situation where we don't have good prosecutor attorneys handling these cases, they're not gonna get prosecuted or they're gonna get lost, and very, very bad people are gonna go free. So we need to seriously consider that, in my
And-
opinion.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Mike, and I can tell you, when I was putting part of this together, Scott and I went over most of this. There may be a few other things that he wants to do, but, I mean, he was in agreement with, we got.
And please don't take my comments about Scott.
Oh, no, no,
He's a
no.
great guy,
No,
he used to
no.
work for us.
No.
I'm just saying, you know, I'm almost 62, and you can't put 33 years of trial experience in somebody that's only 40, unless you're like Doogie Howser. You know, it's a critical mass situation, in my humble opinion.
No, I agree, and I appreciate those comments, Mike.
I was gonna kind of ask the same type of question. You've kind of been, the last 4 years, the person that came here a lot, and you guys have done a lot of changes, trying to balance things out and try things that, I give you kudos, always kind of gave Rodney a hard time about, like, you know, what are we doing? It seems like we're constantly changing something. And so I'm glad you're working with Mr. Hunt. But how do you feel comfortable with these salaries? Is that, I mean, to get on his coattails, that's really.
I mean, to be honest, I'd like for there to be more, but, I mean, we gotta start somewhere, and I don't wanna, you know, bite at the whole apple before we took a few sections of it, but, I mean, it's.
So with the duties and the changes, I mean, we're working in the right direction.
I think so.
Okay.
I'm not at liberty to tell you what we've offered folks. I will tell you this, even at these salaries, they are gonna get turned down right and left,
Yeah, that's what I'm afraid of.
period.
And it's just, I mean, it's, you know, I think it's the nature of the job, and, you know, we don't have the luxury that some of the, you know, Hamilton counties and whatever that they're paying, but I mean, I looked a lot at the surrounding counties, and, you know, 65 seemed to be a relatively common starting point, and, you know, it's, you know, we invest a lot of time and money going into law school to be able to do this, and, you know, if somebody comes out at $100,000 in debt, $50,000 a year is just, you know, not enough to do it, and if they can go straight out of law school and do $65,000 somewhere else, I mean, it's a no-brainer.
65 with health insurance is, you're gonna be kinda competitive with people that want law jobs in government.
Right.
We don't have health insurance at our firm. We've got some other perks, you know, not the least of which is a pretty fast partnership track. So people wanna go in civil, and they're even debating about doing some prosecutor work for a while, they won't take that. In the bigger cities, Fort Wayne, Indianapolis, they're nabbing all the graduates out of law school.
Right.
Period. And so, I cannot stress this enough. I lay awake at night worried about this.
Oh, Mike, I do too, because it's more on my plate.
Well, it is, but I don't wanna get robbed and carjacked and,
Oh, no, I
you
get it.
know,
I mean,
rising drug problems exacerbates all these crimes. You know, that's one of the reasons we have flight from this county.
and we just had another murder on Saturday morning, and I didn't answer my phone, but the Gas City Police Department was kind enough to knock on my door and wake me up, and I went in at 2:30 in the morning and came home at 10 at night, so.
I was just looking at kind of comparing the schedule 2022 with this new 23 proposed schedule. General fund column looks like about 24,597 more, 24,597. But overall, all columns, all funds combined, if you look at victims advocates, you know, Spotlight, 4D, for all those added together, it's an 8,246.30 reduction. Added all this together for salaries. Then the deputy prosecutor spots, it looks like increases, one of them's only 2%, but the others are like 11.8, 18.6, 18.6. So there is some increase there.
Yeah,
But overall, the staffing total looks like a little less in 23 than it is in 22.
There was one, we're not gonna label it or give it a title, but one of the more senior trial attorneys, want to give him a bump to make it more lucrative to stay. And then a couple other ones as well, but then I wanted to try to bump the other ones up, just at least to make working here and being in the office enticing or at least competitive to some point, so.
What's the, if you don't mind my asking, oldest attorney you have?
The oldest attorney?
Yeah. Or maybe a better way of asking it is, who has, don't give me a name, but what's the maximum level of legal experience? A number of years.
Well, right now, it's probably John Johnston, but he handles juvenile matters.
Who?
John Johnston.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And he does, I mean, he handles juvenile matters. And he does a little bit in Sup 3. Rodney's probably right now has the most trial experience. I think I'm probably catching him, so I'm probably right behind that. And then I'd say Jamie and then Scott are probably right behind that. But I think at this point I've done over 100 trials.
That's a good point, because you've done far more jury trials than I have, just because you all do them much more often, quicker.
And if there's I'm not sure you can name a type of crime in a trial that I haven't done at this point. So, I mean, other than Rodney, I'm probably the head.
Are there any other questions or comments regarding the salary? We'll move on to regular budget. Categories 2 and 3.
Okay.
Just a little increase in badges, it looks like.
I think the one, right now, we asked for a 5% increase in supplies. We are dwindling right now. So, and it's not a.
It's the issue with paper.
Yeah, paper is like crazy. We're trying to get to where we don't have any paper. You know, where we go electronic, but we still have a ton of it. And the one thing, yeah, the printing supplies, every year, every couple of years, we order their code books, they're like quick reference for all the criminal statutes, and those are we order those for us. We order those for every law enforcement agency in the county to give those to them for a quick reference. So that's a request for the increase in that. Publications, we're asking for a 5% increase. The other thing is, I know, and I think we talked about this last time we had a budget hearing, our telephones at 4,000. I'm not sure how much of that we need because we don't have any office sponsored or paid for telephones. So that money in that 4,000 can be distributed to those other three categories. I know there was a period of time, I think it was before Rodney took office, that there were a few office sponsored telephones, but that's not the case anymore. So.
Is there any questions regarding categories 2, 3, and it looks like 4 has been reduced quite a bit as well? That's to.
Because the cars last time.
The cars.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got 2 new vehicles and we shouldn't need as much maintenance or anything on those.
Of course, depending on what the price of fuel is.
Two new Equinoxes. I guess we might need to bump up the gas budget, but right now we're fine.
Electric bikes is next.
Okay, any questions regarding categories 2, 3, and 4?
I'd say use that telephone budget for your gas.
Well,
If we need it.
If we need it, that's what we can do, absolutely, we can ask for it first.
If there's no questions, I entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I make a motion to approve categories 2, 3, and 4 under the prosecutor's 1,009.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Fleming, a second from Mr. Poling to approve within the prosecutor's budget categories 2, 3, and 4 as presented. Any public input?
Yeah,
Yep,
just real quick, you would think that, spending money on law enforcement and prosecution might actually increase revenue, because everybody wants safe streets. It might actually, that's where it starts.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
If there's any other public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Yeah, victims assistance next.
Yes, victims assistant. This column right here, for whatever reason, I can't hardly read it. I don't know.
Oh, that color, is that right?
That color is,
Put on sunglasses, that might help. Oh, yeah, that's okay with me. Angie, pick her own color.
looks like categories 2 and 3 are unchanged. Is there any questions on the victim's assistant? Supplies is unchanged, and categories 3 are both unchanged. Any questions on the salary piece?
That's what, if you look at victims assistance, like they change from 22 budget to 23 budget in the salary range, it's a reduction of 2393.29 from what I can see, so.
Yeah, it's all
There's a little change
grant-based.
there, it's grant based, yeah, it's grant based, like you said.
If there's no other questions, I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Lemming, and a second from Mr. Poling to approve within the Victims Assistant Fund categories 2 and 3 as presented. Any public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Spotlight on violence. Any questions or comments on the salary piece?
This is gonna look a little different next year, I mean, not financially, just because that's how
also
Scott
grant-
was getting paid, so that's
It's
gonna
also
change
grant
a
based,
little bit.
the salary further on that, the spotlight.
Now, it looks like category 3 is unchanged. If there's no questions, I'd entertain a motion.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Connor, a second from Mr. Fleming to approve the spotlight on violence. Categories 3 as presented. Any public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion is approved. Deferred prosecutor fund. It's all salaries and questions or comments. If there's no questions or comments regarding the salary piece on the deferred prosecution, we can go to the pre-trial division. It looks like,
Angie, on the deferral salary comparison sheet, that yellow sheet for Fund 2400, I'm thinking on Justin Faw's line, the 2022 amount, look at that, I think maybe we should have had it to be 27,480, see if I. I think we're showing the prior year on there instead of. In the 2022 column.
You think it should say what?
Well, under Justin Fall's line,
Mhm.
the 2022 amount, I'm thinking should be 27,480. Based on what the schedule shows.
This is also the fund that continues to stay in the red, and last year we had to do a transfer
Okay.
from the pretrial diversion fund.
Okay.
It currently is in the red, $7,500.
So it's got to be taken care of again, okay? But according to the salary schedule, that would show 27,480. I just thought maybe it's just a typo error on him, maybe.
No, 25,480.
Really? So that means.
That's what the 22 salary ordinance shows.
Really?
But I put a typo in
Is that right?
the
Okay, well, that
orange
means the other schedule we have here is wrong by that then. Okay. All right, I'm sorry, thank you. I just wanted to make sure we're getting clear on that.
Good catch. So pre-trial diversion fund, correct, we're through it. And then prosecutor 4D fund.
That's my lane.
I let Darcy do that because I don't know squat about it.
Yeah, they don't, it's okay.
But she does a tremendous job.
I do. No, I'm just kidding, thank you. So yes, the 4D, we are a special group. Unfortunately though, we are down to 4 full-time case managers, myself included. We've had 2 quit to go to higher paying outside county jobs, and 1 did retire. Dave Homer, he was paid out of our incentive fund. So we are in the process of looking for a secretary. We've had some interviews already. We have a couple more scheduled, so wish me luck. Our vacant case manager position, I am not sure that we will need. We are, Pam kind of mentioned this earlier on the clerk side. We're ever changing. The child support program is changing completely. It's gonna be a better system. It's gonna mainstream a lot of our work. So by giving us tasks instead of us like looking. So that is supposed to go live. It was supposed to go live October 3rd. However, the state has pushed that back. So now we're looking at probably November, December when we go live with that, which is exciting because it's web-based and it's gonna be a lot better. So we're excited, and our IT guys have been so gracious to help us with everything. So with the 4 of us being case managers, I think that's all we will need. We do need a secretary though, because that is taking up a lot of our time, so hopefully that will get filled. With that being said, and like Evan said, Rodney did put on here for us $2,000 raises for each of the employees, including our part-time deputy prosecutors and our part-time investigator, Justin Fall. I went ahead and gave the 3 case managers and the secretary position a little bit of a bump, which is also reflected on this, just because I feel like it is just them doing all of the work. We are doing a pretty good job. Our numbers are not dropping. And the other fun tidbit of our office is that our salaries are reimbursed by the federal government 66%. So I have an awesome staff. I probably have the best staff in the county. And there's only 3 of us, or 4 of us, including myself, but you guys know I'm awesome. So that's all I have on salaries.
When you talk about streamlining the software
Yes.
database,
Mhm.
is that for payment or what is that?
Both. So it's for our enforcement, our 4D enforcement, and the clerk, they process all of our payments. So it's gonna change all of that too.
Okay.
Yes,
And that's from the state?
it is. So all 92 counties are going to be going to, we're called ISETS right now. It's Support Enforcement Tracking System, Indiana. Now we're going to Invest is what it's called.
Okay,
Thank
you.
Yes.
Is there any questions or comments regarding the salary request?
Well, Evan did have a good question. That's a good question.
Yeah, 'cause, I sat through, because we were looking for a spot and they were looking for a spot, and I sat through a week-long interviews to do this because I have so much time. But there were several individuals that we interviewed that were interested in the job, but because of the salary, did not accept or wouldn't take it.
Right.
I don't remember what.
Okay, so our secretary position that is available, if they would start today, they would be making $27,000.
And that was the issue.
And that was the issue. Everybody pretty much was out the door. And they were some pretty good candidates.
We had some really good candidates within the courthouse who were looking to kind of move up or whatever, but with the salary of $27,000, they said.
It wouldn't even be a lateral move.
They said no.
For them. And with one of the people that had quit and went to a higher paying job was our most veteran case manager. She was making $38,000. So when I say I reallocated, I kind of took part of her salary and reallocated to the full-time employees, including our vacant secretary position.
Jim, do you have any questions?
I don't think so.
My calculations are correct, that salary you just quoted for a secretary would be a little more than $13 an hour.
Correct.
It would be $14.84 with the calculations that we use.
Because of 35 hours a week.
Don't be Mr. Spock on me. I was correct.
True.
It's approximately 7.7%, Captain.
That's important to know. Good job.
She did it just like that.
Trying to show off.
If there's no questions regarding the salary piece, we'll move on to the
Okay.
categories 2, 3, and 4.
So we didn't ask for any increases in any of our categories. Again, everything we touch, supplies, travel and conference, everything is reimbursed at 66%. Basically, so we are down. Our travel and conference in the past had been a larger amount because we did, I think there were 3 conferences we used to. That is down to 1. We just have 1 summer conference that IPAC puts on for us for training. It's a 3-day training. And this year, there was only 6 of us that went, the 4 full-time and then our 2 deputy prosecutors. And we only spent just right under $3,000 for room and all of the registration fees. So that could probably even come down a little bit. Everything else we didn't even touch. We are going paperless. We already have our scanners and everything set up. So we're doing pretty good on paper, but the struggle is real when it's going with paper
I
and
must have
envelopes.
missed something. Why is it going up so much in travel and conference?
It didn't go, it stayed the
I
same.
think it stayed the same.
9,500.
95.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
What was expended was a lot less than what we're budgeted.
Yeah.
Why do you think that much needs to be budgeted?
I don't think it does. I think that category can be cut down. Like I said, this year we spent just under $3,000 and that was for 6 people. Hopefully, fingers crossed, next year it'll be 7 people if I can get a secretary
But I
hired.
gotta tell you, I'm getting, when I hear from constituents, another thing I hear about is all the conferences and travel.
Right.
And it's not just prosecutor's office.
Right.
We'll be talking about some other agencies down the road, so we wanna watch that.
Absolutely, understandable. In the past, like I said, we were up to 3 conferences a year, but now the state has pretty much stopped that and we're only to, child support workers are only to 1
And
a
can a
year.
lot of that be done virtually now?
This one,
Seminars and-
right, some of them are, there is always a choice on that since COVID. This year, they sent home with each county a drive that you could basically watch the whole thing if you couldn't attend.
Which would save the hotel.
Absolutely, mileage,
Okay.
absolutely.
Cause we're doing that in CLA. before,
Right.
we're just,
Everything's
I
virtual.
take everything,
Mhm.
all my seminars from my desk.
Right.
Okay, if there's no other questions regarding categories 2, 3, and 4, I'd entertain a motion.
I would make a motion to approve everything except the conference budget. Travel and conference, instead of 9,500, I would propose, 4,500.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Connor, a second from Mr. Lemming to approve within the prosecutor's 4D fund, categories 2, 3, noting the amendment to travel and conference to $4,500. And categories 4. Any public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now we're to the prosecutor's 4D incentive fund.
So that was Dave Homer's position, our investigator, our full-time investigator who retired in May. We are not going to fill that. Our incentive fund has been drained because of his salary, and we won't have to steal from Pam anymore, like she said earlier. So we are in no need for that. We can just let our incentive fund build.
Okay, is there any other questions, comments? Yes, ma'am.
For the salary ordinance chart, can we go ahead and just approve this as presented?
What?
Can we go ahead and approve this as presented, just to zero this out?
We're talking 2023, what do you,
When I do, it doesn't matter. I was just kidding.
She's just saying since it's, even though it's zeroed out, we can go ahead and approve it.
you could, I mean, I don't mind.
I don't
I'd be happy to move to approve a zero.
Second.
Doesn't screw you up to do it out of
But
order.
that's why I'm thinking here a second, okay, just, you went too quick on me. You just wanna do it, so what, Angie, what are you thinking?
If they do raises, and I have to do all the calculations, and I'll have to do this one too, because it's not zeroed out.
So you're saying if they do it now, you don't have to worry about putting it in there,
Right,
so.
I'll have to worry about it later.
I'm okay with that, that's fine.
Making your life easier, Jim.
Yeah, but I'm all for that.
I have a motion from Mr. Conrad, a second from Mr. Paul.
I just don't wanna do it before I know for sure that's the case.
To approve categories 1 under the 4D incentive fund, all zeros. Any other questions or comments? Public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Any other questions or comments from the members? I think that's all we have. Thank you.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Thank you. We will be in recess till tomorrow at 6 o'clock. Thursday.
Goodness. Getting tired, getting old.